Hey Year 10s, let's take up Assessment 5, Factorizing Quadratics of all kinds. Starting with these two term quadratics. Note that they are all dots. That is, they are all a difference of two squared terms. The first one, for example, is x squared minus 9, which is the same as 3 squared. So I've got x plus 3, x minus 3. The next one is x squared minus 121, and 121 is the same as 11 squared, so that's x plus 11, x minus 11. Question C, x squared minus 225. 225 is a squared term, that's 15 squared, so it's x plus 15, x minus 15. And the last one might look a bit challenging to you, but 25a squared is the same thing as 5a times 5a, so 5a squared. And obviously b squared is b squared. So I've got 5a plus b times 5a minus b. They are all dots. Next we've got splitting the middle term, where we've got all these quadratics where there's some number other than 1 in front of the x squared term. It might be easiest if we first identify that one quadratic where it's not necessary to split the middle term. Remember, that's when you could actually factor the a value out of all three terms. So that's question B here. Note that B, we can divide all three terms by 2, which would factor out the 2 and leave us with just a normal quadratic with no number in front of the x squared. So let's start with B. I factored out the 2. You see, I used to have 2x squared, and now I've got the 2 out front. Then I had plus 8x, but I factored out the 2, so it's 4x. And then I had negative 24, but dividing that by 2 gives me negative 12. Now looking at the quadratic we've got left, we can just set up our brackets with x in both brackets, and look for the two numbers that multiply to make negative 12, but add to make positive 4. And those numbers are positive 6 and negative 2. Make sure you've got the signs the right way around. There's one positive and one negative because they multiply to make a negative, and the bigger number is the positive one because they have to add to make positive 4. Okay, so that's B. Let's look at A next. A, we do need to split the middle term because I can't divide all three terms through by 2. So let's start by doing that. Start by multiplying A by C, and we'll find two numbers that multiply to make this answer, which is negative 6, but add to make the middle term, which we're trying to split, which is the negative 5. Okay, so numbers that multiply to make negative 6, they've got to be one positive and one negative. And I'm thinking the numbers may be positive or negative 1 and 6. Now look, they have to add to make negative 5, so the bigger one should be the negative 1. 1 minus 6 would make negative 5. So let's put it that way around. Now when you're deciding which order to put them in, it doesn't matter, but I put the negative 6x first because I know that has something in common with the 2x squared. And then I just put the x behind. It really doesn't matter the order, I just thought it would be easier for me. Now my next step is to factorize by grouping. Looking at the first two terms, I ordered them that way because I thought I could divide them both by 2. But not just 2, 2x. So I factor the 2x out of the first two terms, and I look at the last two terms and they don't seem to have a common factor. That's where you have to remember that if they can't divide by anything, the common factor is 1. So I've put 2x in front of the first two terms. If I were to multiply that through, it would be 2x times x would make 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 would make negative 6x. And remember to put the plus 1 in front of the other bracket, because remember I want to end up with a bracket of x plus something and x plus or minus something. So I need to have two terms inside each of those brackets. Now I will have two terms in each of those brackets. In one of the brackets, I'll have x minus 3, and I see that those match. And in the other bracket, I'll have these red terms here, 2x plus 1, because I'm doing 2x times the blue-black bracket, and I'm doing 1 times the blue bracket, and by putting them together, I'm just tidying that up. I would still do 2x times x, 2x times minus 3, and then 1 times x and 1 times minus 3. And you might want to try that just to make sure that it will expand out and give you your original quadratic. I know that in order to get the 2x squared, the 2x times the x will give that to me. If I didn't have the 2 there, I would have a real problem getting 2x squared. Okay, so that was A. Next, we're going to do C, and again, I can't divide everything through by the value that's in front of the x squared term, so I'm going to need to split the middle term. So I start by doing 6 times 2, the first coefficient times the last coefficient, and that's 12. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to make 12, but add to make 7. So I got 12 by doing 6 times 2, but 6 plus 2 won't give me 7. So what could those values be? Maybe 3 and 4? 3 and 4. So I'll split the middle term 7x into 3x and 4x, and I've put them in this order again. It doesn't matter the order, but I've put them in this order because I know that 6x squared and 3x have clearly got a good common factor. I can divide them both by not just 3, but 3x. So I'll factor the 3x out of these two terms, and those two terms as well have a common factor. I can divide them both by 2, and by doing that, I'll have the same brackets. Checking this out, I divided both of those by 3x. If I were to multiply this back through, it would be 6x squared plus 3x. And these two terms, I divided both of them by 2. If I were to multiply that back through, it would be 4x plus 2. Okay, now I just need to regroup. I see that the blue brackets, they are the same, which means I've done that correctly. If they were different, I would have had a mistake. So I can regroup the red terms. So I'm doing 3x times this bracket, plus I'm doing 2 times this bracket. I'll put those together and I say I'm going to do 3x plus 2 multiplied by this bracket. I would expand that by doing 3x times 2x. That would give me the 6x squared. Then I do 3x times the 1, which gives me the 3x. Then I do the 2x times the 2, which gives me the 4x. Then I do the 2 times the 1, which gives me the 2. So it does expand out to what I originally had. So there's my factorized quadratic. Okay, you guys are doing really well with this. Please let me know if there's still any doubts.